Aha, so we're on, so Mahbube, you're on. Good evening, everyone. We're just going to wait for a couple of people to show up, but we'd just like to say hello. Let me just check. Are we on speaker view, or I think we need to be on gallery view, Martin. Okay. Right, let's have a look, see if we've got some people waiting. Should we just wait for a bit?
Yeah, I think we should kind of wait for 2 minutes and then for more people to come and join us for this amazing surprise.
Okay.
So to all of the people that are watching us now, we are just waiting for about 1 minute or 2 minutes for some more people to join us. And then we're going to start the event. Hope everybody is having a good evening so far.
And I'm hoping that this is being recorded. So that we've got a chance. Right, great. Thanks, Martin. Yeah, this is just so that it will be available on other platforms after we broadcast this evening.
Today.
Okay. So I'm just wondering, Mahbube, should we just get started, do you think? What do you think?
Yeah, we can start. Yeah, we can start.
Right, let's start. Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the launch of the Commonword Archive website and literature map. My name is Hina Patel, and I'm the coordinator of Commonword's Archive project. And with me, I've got Mahbube. So do you want to introduce yourself? How are you?
Hello everyone. I'm absolutely good. I'm so excited. I'm Mahbube Rajabi. I'm also the digital literature coordinator at Commonword. And today I'm also excited beside Hina to share the digital literature map beside the website of the archive project. And I'm so happy that you guys are with us. And yeah, we're going to have an amazing time.
Okay, great, thank you. This is Commonword's first live stream event, so do forgive us if we experience a few hitches. And we've also got Marion doing some live captioning for us. So yeah, it's really important that if you want to view these, please switch on your captions if you're watching this on Facebook. So at the bottom of the video on the right hand side, if you press on the cog, if you press on it, then it'll come up with the word caption, and then if you press on the slider button next to it, then that will mean that you can see the captions. Okay, so here's what's going to be happening this evening. I'll just tell you what we're going to do. We're going to start off with a short reading from the archive, and then I'm going to be talking to you about the Commonword Archive website and about the archive itself. So if you've got any, and then after that, if you've got any comments or questions, please put them in the chat or the comments, and we'll do our best to respond to them. Then we're going to follow that with another short reading of one of the archive pieces. So all of the poems and pieces you'll be hearing tonight are from the Commonword Archive. And then after that, Mahbube is going to be talking about her work creating our literature map. and then we'll give you a chance to ask her any questions that you have about it. Then we're going to have a few more readings, and then if we've got any final comments that we need to respond to, we'll do that, and then we will draw the evening to a close. Now, just to let you know, with our readings, they won't be live captioned, but we will put the text in the Facebook comments section so that you can follow it. So yeah, this is just something we're trying out, so hopefully it will work. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to introduce the first reading that we're going to have. This is by a Manchester writer from Hume, and his name is Kevin O2. And this is him reading his own poem, which is called Another Moss Side Night. Commonword published this poem in its magazine in the early 80s, and this magazine was called Write On. And this poem is based on his experiences of Moss Side at the time. So as I said, we'll put the text of the poem in the comments section. So please, if you're watching live, could you avoid leaving comments at the time so that people can access the text? Right. Okay. So we've got Martin helping us out and doing our producing. So when you're ready, please could we view Another Moss Side Night? Okay. Thank you very much to Kevin O2 for recording, reading, and indeed writing that piece. So let me carry on and tell you about the Commonword Archive and the website. So I would like to take you back to Manchester in 1977. It's a time of punk and high inflation and strikes, and it's also the year that Commonword is set up by Greg Wilkinson. And Greg Wilkinson was doing community development work in Partington, and that's an overspill estate that's 9 miles away from the city centre. And in the mid-70s, he supported a rent strike that was happening there. And the strike failed, but it led to him setting up a project called Lifetimes, where he interviewed and documented the lives of 13 working class residents from the area. And he really wanted to, he wanted working class people to be able to tell their own stories. And it was in this spirit that Commonword was set up. You will have to bear with me. I've just got a noise going off that's causing a bit of disruption, and I'll just sort that out. Can I just hand you over, Mahbube,
yes,
very briefly?
Yes, sure. So guys, I'm gonna kind of continue on what Hina would like to tell you. So this is about basically the time that that was so quick, Hina.
That was quick.
That was so fast.
Well, you can plan for everything to go right.
That's brilliant.
But,
hand over to you.
Still forget to set off an alarm that you can't remember why you set it. So yeah, really sorry about that. It's all part of the fun, but not for people who don't like alarms. Never mind. So anyway, I was talking about Greg Wilkinson, and he was wanting working class people to sort of tell their own stories. And so we set up an archive project here at Commonword to share some of Commonword's history, and, you know, to sort of re-examine some of the work that we published, you know, up to 40 years ago. And we wanted to share what was in the archive with the people of Manchester, because we want Manchester people, Manchester writers, to connect to their literary history. And we wanted to tell a story about Manchester literature that isn't just Elizabeth Gaskell or Anthony Burgess. This is the story of a whole community of writers that have passed through Commonword's doors or have been published by them, or published by us. And I think I counted while I was doing this archive project the names of 900 different writers in the archive who have been published in over around 100 different publications. So let me just tell you before I show you the website, I'll tell you a bit about what's in the archive and what Mahbube and I have been looking at while we've been doing this project. Of course, there's the poems and stories that we published. There's also photographs and publicity from the launch events that we did for books and for the live events that we put on. We've got press clippings, and then we've also got recordings where technology has allowed us to do that. And through this website, we wanted to share as much as we could, you know, online. And now that we're in lockdown, we do realise how important it is to have this website. So let me just give you a quick tour. So I'm just going to share my screen. So here we go. Hang on. So let me take you. So here we are. This is the home page, and it's got a few images on here. If you're not sure where to start, it's got a few images on here that you can click on if you just want to start exploring. Now, we can also adjust the font size here if it makes it easy to read. And we've also got a dark theme as well. So I'm just going to switch to that dark theme. And I'll just talk you through the website. So here we are on the About section here. Let's have a look. I'll just click on there for you. This just tells you a little bit about what we have in the physical archive, and if you've got any inquiries or if you want to donate to the archive, you can also get that information here. Any donations would be for the upkeep of the archive. And then let me show you the timeline. So this project is huge, and so I've really been focusing for now up until the end of the 1990s. But we will be adding to this as we go along. So here you can see a few milestones of Commonword's history. And in some of these descriptions, there will be links to other parts of the website. So this is just a way to help you to explore. Okay, so I would encourage you to have a look at this after this event is over. It'd be great to know what you thought. But let me just take you to the next section, which is our writers. So yes, these are writers who've been published by Commonword, who have links to Commonword. Now, the writers are in alphabetical order by first name, and you can scroll through from A to Z, so all the way down. Or you can, if you know the name of someone and you know their first name, you can just jump straight to the section of the alphabet just to make things quicker. So I'm going to click on J here. And then I'm just going to click here on this writer. We've got Joan Batchelor. And if I click here, it'll take you to a profile page. Now, there's some information here about Joan, and there's also a featured in section for each writer. And you can see the Common Word publications that the writer appears in. And then you can click on those to find out more. So we will go back to that. We'll go back to the publications now. So that's the next section I'm going to show you. Again, this is similar to the writers section, but here they're ordered by year. So again, you can scroll down manually, or you can, if you want to know, if you want to go to a specific year, you can just click on one of these and go straight to that. So I'm going to click here on 1984. And this will tell you the things that Common Word published in that year. And I'm just going to click on here. This is a publication called A Matter of Time. And yeah, it was in response, it was kind of anti-nuclear, anti-war poems and pieces. So where possible, I've tried to add an extract from the publication, and then with a few of the publications, they are available as a PDF, and we haven't been able to do as many of these as we liked because of lockdown, but luckily I've chosen one where we did have a copy available. So if you click on related material, then it will take you, hopefully, to it'll take you to the scanned copy of that publication, and so you can look at that and see what's in there and read it at your leisure. Okay. Yeah, and I was going to say, yeah, we don't have scans of all the archive publications, but we are hoping to keep adding to this as we go along. And before I carry on, if you've got any questions, you can leave them in the comments section. So I've got a bit more to show you, and then I'll respond to any comments that we've got. So let me just go back to the website. We've got other ways to explore the material as well. So if I just go to there, and I'll go to Archive, Catalogue, and say, for example, I was a young woman from Moss Side who wanted to know what mentions there were of where I lived in the archive. I could I'll just type in Moss Side there, and let's see what it brings up. Right, okay, so we've got a number of writers and pages and publications that mention Moss Side in the keywords where I've been cataloguing them. So you could click on one of these to start exploring. Okay, I'll take you to another part of the website, and these are, oh, before I do that, you can actually, I've categorized the writers sort of loosely based on the writer groups that Common Word had in the 80s and 90s. So you can click on these drop down lists and tags to refine your search, and that'll give you a sort of better search. And if you know the publication date, you can search by that as well. Right, okay. So let me take you to the collections page. So when Common Word started, there was just one writers group. That was the Common Word Writers Workshop. But from the sort of late 70s or the early 80s, different writer groups started to emerge, and they kind of carried on. And so I've sort of roughly organised the archive material according to these writer groups. So let me just take you to one of these groups here. So identity was and still is Commonword's writer group for Black and Asian writers. So there's a bit of information about the group, and we've also got some members of that writer group on there. So that's another way to kind of explore what's in the archive. Then we've also got our image gallery. So let me just take you to that. I'd really like to thank the volunteers at this point for all the hard work that they did, not only cataloguing, but also scanning images that you see here. So yeah, as I said before, we've got lots of photographs in the archive, and this is just a taster. I wanted a chance for people to see what Manchester writers were wearing in the 80s and 90s. But we've also got our flyers and some of our book covers here. Now, you can filter by these groups here. Again, there were sort of the groups that I've roughly organised the archive by. And so you can filter. So if I could just click on that for women writers, and it will filter the gallery by sort of women writers and sort of work by women writers. I've also got a section here called Out and About. So let me just click on that. And this is to really emphasize the sort of live element of Commonword's work. So here you'll see flyers and pictures from sort of Commonword's live publications. And it looks like they really had a fun time. So yeah, do have a look through those. And then I've got one more section to show you. We've got sound and vision. So I'll just click on there. So we've just got, let me just wait for that to load. We've got very few links to some of the stuff that we've put that is part of the archive. But if you want to look at all of our things, then it will link to our YouTube channel. So if you just link on there, then it'll take you to the YouTube channel where we've got more of our films and recordings and kind of, yeah, live pieces. And I'll just take you back to the website. There is one more bit, but I'm going to let Mahbube tell you about that very shortly. So yeah, let's have a look. I'll just go back to the home page. And yeah, so that's just a basic tour of the website. We'd really like you to explore the archive, and the website's available for you to view. So if you want to go to that, it's commonwordarchive.org. So yes, do feel free to have a look around, and you might find something in there about yourself or about Manchester writers or about Manchester that you didn't know before. And I'd also like to say the archive project, I'd like to mention that this is a project that has been funded by the Heritage Lottery Fund. So I'd really like to thank them for the project funding that we've received from them, which has meant that we could do this really important work. Okay, thank you. I'm going to stop sharing now. Okay, how are we doing?
Good. So I'm waiting for see if people got any questions. And while I'm waiting for, I'm going to ask you one question.
Yeah, sure.
And Are there any writers or pieces of work that really got your attention?
Yeah, definitely. It's so hard that, as I said, there are so many writers in there, and it's hard to name, but just a few. But like maybe just off the top of my head, I'd like to mention a few. There's a woman called Doris Sidonam, and she is published in our earlier publications from sort of late 70s and early 80s. And she was writing about her life. It's basically autobiography. And she was actually part of Wythenshawe Writers Group, and then Commonword ended up publishing some of that work. And she talks about her post-war life. So that's after the Second World War. Her mother died, and she was part of quite a big family, but she was one of the older siblings. So she was suddenly left to become the mother or the parent of this family. And so kind of talking about that. And what I really like about her writing, I mean, she's a working class writer, but her writing's just, it's just really unsentimental. And, I think sometimes when people who aren't working class are writing about people who are working class, then they kind of tend to sentimentalize it or romanticize, poverty and hardship. But there's none of that with her writing. She's, this is just her life, and this is just what happened, and what she did. So I really enjoyed her work. And there's another someone else I want to mention, also from that era, is someone called Holt. And he's written, I think he's only come to my attention quite recently, so maybe in the last few weeks. And he's talking about, he has a few poems, again, published in Write On. And he's just talking about kind of street life in sort of Moss Side and Hume. And I did wonder, there's very little biographical information about him in the publications, but I'm wondering whether he was black or white, or what his heritage was, what his life was, and I was wondering that just because of how I've kind of interpreted his work and the way in which he talks about music being played on the streets, the way in which he talks about the police. And so it's not always, I don't know, people's backgrounds and identities aren't always visible. So sometimes you do have to have that really sort of careful reading of the text and make your own interpretation. And then publications. I'm just going to mention one or two. The first one I want to mention is a collection from 1994 called Kiss. And this is Black and Asian love poetry. So, and I've got to say, like, reading it, some of the pieces got me really hot under the collar. And what I really like about that, it's such a slim volume of poetry, but it gives Black and Asian people, humanity, and I know that's kind of really lacking, not just now, where we're seeing that Black and Asian lives don't matter to the government. I think that humanity is sort of really important. And one of the things, like, I think my favorite thing about this collection is there seems to be an exchange of love poetry between two lesbians, within this page. So they kind of seem to be writing to each other, but it's documented in this, in this collection of poetry, and it's incredible. It's really wonderful and heartening to read, that you've got this love story within this collection of poems. And then another thing a bit early from the archive is Write On issue 8. So as I said, Write On was Commonword's publication of, you know, people's work that people would bring work to writing to workshops, and then it would be developed at those workshops. And issue 8 is from the late 70s. And I just felt like it was a really cohesive collection of work. It all fit together really nicely, and you've got a bunch of really politicized working class writers, and I absolutely love it. And I can see the progression from earlier editions of Write On, and it's kind of coming up to this point where you've got this really solid issue. So yeah, that's just some of the things that I've enjoyed.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna double check to see if there is any more questions.
Yeah.
And I've got another question for you. Actually, because from what you've been saying, I want to know that what does this archive tell you about the literature?
I've just seen a comment from Tina. Tina Tamsho Thomas. I want to say hi. Hi, Tina.
Hi, Tina.
Really nice to see you. Tina Tamsho Thomas is really important to the history of Commonword, because she was one of the Black writers who really advocated for Commonword to do more for Black writers. And she was really instrumental in setting up Cultureword, which is Commonword's program for Black and Asian writers. So if it weren't for writers like Tina, you know, banging on the doors, going to meetings, you know, representing Black writers, and, you know, not just thinking of yourself, but thinking of Black writers in the community and in the future, you know, we wouldn't be doing this today, I don't think.
Exactly. So, I just want to also say that it was because of writers like Tina that we've kind of so excited to share the archive project, to share what have been done, you know, just also with the history of literature in Manchester, what these amazing writers did, and kind of just by seeing Tina joining us is amazing.
Yeah, that's great. But yeah, I mean, you did ask me, you know, what does the archive tell us about literature? I mean, these are just my answers, but it just a few things. That there are plenty of writers from all walks of life in Manchester, and you know, so much of it is documented in the Commonword Archive. And there's a lot of writing in there with massive potential. And some of these writers in the archive, they did get careers as writers or in writing. Most of them didn't, actually. But yeah, that's the beauty of the archive. So you can have writers now who are working right now, and they can use the archive and take some of these pieces and develop it into something new. Like, that's not, you know, people have been doing that for centuries. Why not do it with the stuff that we've got in the archive? And through doing this project, I've seen how many writers Commonword has helped. And, you know, it's not just to get published or, as I said, have a career in writing or in performing. And, you know, it did definitely help with that for a lot of writers, and for a lot of Black and Asian writers. But it's also helped writers in Manchester to feel part of a community of writers, and to feel like they belong to Manchester, and that, you know, they've made a contribution. And I think that that's just as valuable as seeing yourself in print. Okay.
That's brilliant. Thank you so much, Nina.
Yeah. Okay. So next we're going to be having a reading. Let me just check. I believe that it's going to be by Dominic Berry. And I think he's going to introduce the poem. So yeah, we'll have a short reading, and then Mahbube will be here to talk about the work she's been doing on the literature map. So yeah, Martin, could you please share that video with us? And I'm just going to mute myself.
It's Tommy Barkley's Small Earthquake at Charlton Street, Not Many Hurt. At the bus station, they were stood near the head of the queue, wearing, like most of us, that particularly British expression of stoic patience. Sometimes one or the other spoke, a smile was exchanged, a cigarette lit, an unremarkable pair, students perhaps, the rest of the queue thought, if we thought at all. The coach arrived, watches consulted, bags lifted from between feet, a shuffling and a feeling for wallets, tickets, coins. The woman in front of me smiled an at last smile, which I returned. The pair near the head of the queue moved towards the coach, one obviously seeing the other off. Before boarding, the traveller laid his bags down, cupped his companion's face gently, and kissed him, full and long, on the lips. The woman in front of me flicked an affronted look in my direction. I may have raised an eyebrow, but inside I raised a cheer.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you to Dominic Berry for reading and recording that for us. That was a poem by Tommy Barkley. He was a sort of long-standing member of Northern Gay Writers, which was a Commonword writer group from the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
That
was a brilliant poem.
Yeah, and I thought it linked quite nicely to something you're going to be maybe talking about with the map as well, because it mentions Chorlton Street Station, and that's one of the places mentioned on the map, isn't it? But
yes, in
I'll let you
Manchester.
talk about it. I'll let you talk about it.
Thank you so much, Hina. So what I'm going to show you guys, I think straight away, I'm going to share my screen because I'm excited to share the digital literature map based on the archive project of Commonword. And let me quickly show this map. So here is the digital literature map of the archive project. And first, what I'm going to do, I'm going to first tell you about the structure, how does the map work, and then I'll take you to the different part of the map. So if you follow my mouse, which is here, the platform is exactly as, as Google Map. I know that, just most of the people are using this. So that's one of the things that we thought you just make it more accessible and easier to for people to navigate. So this map is, the platform is Google Map. And on your left side, which is this list that you see, you've got the information about the map. You've got 3 sections: poetry, shorter stories, and novel. At the moment, we've got 134 poems and 20 shorter stories and 1 novel. So there is 2 ways that you can check the map. The first way is by choosing from the list, which you can, if you use the 130 more, you will have the full list of the poems. And by click on one of them, you can access to that. And then you can also just zoom in, go to different part of the Manchester. And as you can see, these icons are different books, publications, and poems by different writers from Commonword. So first, what I'll do, I'll choose some poem from the basically the list. For example, I choose psychiatric medication, and it take me to here. If I zoom in more, it highlighted that in white, which is by Carol Batten, the book called Nailing Colors, and it's from 1997. And the location of the poem is the MRI psychiatric department. And this is how we've been locating the poem. Some of the poems got the location, it's been mentioned in their pieces, and that's how this piece has been located. Some of the pieces doesn't have any locations being located by the writers. Maybe it's where they live, or maybe it's where they actually get inspired to write a poem, or actually this is where they wrote a poem. And in the third part, there's some of the poems which is really important, and they've maybe got a link to Manchester, or they kind of talk about something that we could link it to some of the location because they're from some of the very important writers who came to a Commonword in 1970s, 80s. So I'm going to go and choose another poem. For example, I go to A6. So this is actually a series of poems is being written actually for the A6. It's called Roadworks, and it's for the year 2004. And this poem is specifically called A6 from Bill Watson. And also we've got, you can see some of them with images, and also we've got a video. What I'm going to do, I'm going to play one of the poems which got a video called Sunny Iraq by Cheryl Martin, which is from her collection called Alaska, published in 2014. And if you also mention is that each of these pieces got a link for you to go to Commonword website and check the publication. So I will play this video. Before I play it, I want to tell you that there is a helicopter sound, and there is sort of like misoriented sounds, which I want to tell you that is on purpose, which been added to the video. And also you will have the text of the sun. Actually, no, we don't have a text of the sun. I'm going to play it a little bit, and I'm going to play another video that which is another work by Cheryl Martin.
Sunny Iraq. Spiked interview with a girl grunt.
So this is a quick test to see that you can actually play videos. And what I'll do, I'll go to the time is an illusion. And as you can see, you've got a text, and this will be also available on the comments in on the Facebook. And this is another poem by Cheryl Martin from the same collection called Alaska. And the same thing, it's got the sounds are on purpose, so don't think that the video is stopped. Actually, things that you're gonna be hearing on the video is actually been making on purpose in that way. So we've got an image, and this is the actual video.
Your boyfriend found out about us, stabbed you to death. I was flicking through photos. You, hair down. You smiling, hair spread over the grass. You smiling, hair in your eyes, in your mouth. You smiling. I was trying to write your mother, black edge paper. You came, sat next to me, pointed to the pictures of you smiling, said you were miserable that day. I couldn't write that you were dead, so I stopped time for you. I turned time back for you. I brought you back so you could tell me again that you didn't love me. In fact, next day, you cataloged the many ways I couldn't love anyone. And I spent the next 20 years fucking men so I'd never feel that pain again, when really you were just a bit of a cunt, weren't you, sweetie?
Okay. So this was the video for Time is an Illusion, and you actually can have different videos, and this is basically what we've been working on. So for the future, we definitely will have more videos, and it would allow you to actually at the same time play videos, play sounds, and basically also hear not only the text, but also watch the videos and sounds and the voices of the writers. So the next one, I'm actually going to take you to the map itself. So let's see how would it look like if you want to choose a poem from different areas of Manchester. So I'm going to go to Moss Side, and I want to kind of mention that it's exactly worse as, you know, just when you zoom in by your mouse or using this zoom in or zoom out, which is as a default on the map to go and choose and kind of zoom in to choose your area. So this is Moss Side, and we've got Pauline Omoboye, that she wrote this book called Purple Mother. Such a brilliant book. I love her book, and the poems are very strong, and it's been written. These specific poems have been written for Moss Side, and that's why it's been located in the exact basically location that she's been written them. And this is The Innocent Until Proven Guilty. I, for example, click on this one. This is Elaine Powell, which is one of her poems on Right on 19 that Hina was mentioning about this publication from the book 1982, and the year 1982. And you can read the poem, and then if you want to know about the publication, all of these icons got the link to the archive website. And for example, I take you to the center of Manchester, and I'll take you to one of DK's work in the Day and Night Cafe. I'm sure that most of you know this cafe in Oldham Street, and this poem called Trademarks. And you can zoom out, even go to the, let's go to the north of Manchester, and you can read this poem, for example, called So Far by Pat Winslow. She had this book called The Girl in the Iron Lung by year 2003. And she actually been writing this poem based on, you know, just it's been actually written when it happened in the North Manchester Hospital, and that's why it's been located there. We can also go to a little bit like to the south of Manchester. Here we've got The Day Andros Badder Died by Phil Boyd, which is from The Voices 16, winter 1977-78. And I just want to mention that one of the things that I absolutely enjoyed during working on the map was that knowing the location is that you actually hear the poet. Imagine this one. It's been written 1977, and it really amazed me by kind of the content of different poems. And one of the very, very interesting thing I want to mention is that some of these poems are really links to our time. So when we were, you know, during the actual lockdown, I've been reading this poem by Kevin Otu, which also Hina was talking about, and we've heard one of his poems that he's been reading to us, and this is called Eating Habits. And to be honest, when I've read this, and I felt like, oh my goodness, it's been written in 1980, and this is one of his poems from the book Right on 12. And it's been written for the experience that it got during the lockdown, because we've been staying at home. My mice have been eating a lot, going to the fridge, and I've absolutely enjoyed it. And I've realized that how important is this archive project to make these works accessible to people to read, because this is what makes us connected to the past and what we learn from also that time. And we've also got poems like Black. And this was actually, I've been reading it when it was this starting of the Black Lives Matter after George Floyd's death. And this poem by Elaine Powell has been written in 1982. And I felt like this is a very powerful poem for now. And it's, you know, just it makes you think that, you know, just how we need to access to these works by these writers. And the most, before I finish, I want to say that these basically this map that you see, these are the writers of Manchester. These are the local writers been writing from their heart and coming to Commonword, and from just 40 years ago, and the content and the value and the words and the magic in the pieces, it's I cannot put it in words, and that's why we're doing this launch to ask you to definitely check the website and check them out. I'm just going to quickly also show you the map on the archive website. I'm going to stop sharing this and share the actual map on the website. So let me share my screen again. So here, as you can see, if you go to the Commonword Archive website, and if you go to Explore, and if you click on the map, you will be here. And exactly the same thing, you can just click on the locations, and it will basically show you the different pieces. You can directly zoom in, or using your mouse to zoom in, or if you're using your mobile device, use your finger just to zoom in and zoom out. Very easy. Here you can view the larger map, and just remember that on the actual sort of website, you don't have the list on your left side, because that is when you're full screen it. But you can go to the different part of the locations of Manchester. You just click on them and you read the poem and get the information. On some of the shorter stories, you can, I think also this one, that you can continue reading. We've set up a blog that if it's a very long story, if you're, for example, in the bus, in the train, you're reading it, you can just go and continue reading and then get the full story if it is too long to put on the map. And I'm also going to quickly full screen it for you, that it would take you to the basically the preview map that I showed you. So that's me, and I'm going to stop sharing and go back to Hina.
Okay, thank you, Mahbube. Thank you for that lovely tour of the map.
No worries.
And you've put such a lot of work into that. So yeah, I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions about it. So like, you've literally put Manchester writers on the map. So why did you choose to do that? And why is it important?
I think it's important to make Manchester writers visible, and it's so important also when actually working with you and going through the archive project. It showed me, it's proven to me why it's important to put the writers, because it's important to make it accessible to people to read, because there will be people that just they would think about like 1970s, 80s, and these people were living in the city, and they're put that life and visualize it for us. And I've kind of felt like now when I can hear them, this map and this location, we can also, just the people of Manchester can hear their voices and read these amazing pieces. They can go to the website and be able to understand, because these pieces are so magnificent. And also for the Manchester, which has been appointed as the City of Literature by UNESCO, it's a amazing position that we've got because of the strong literature that we've got. So this is also our responsibility as people of Manchester, and I'm honored to be part of Commonword team to work on the archive project and create this map, and that's, I think, so important.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, just before I go on to I did have another question for you, but we've also had, I think, a comment from Sable Litmag, which I think is Khadija. So I wanted to say hello to you, and she's saying congratulations. So thank you very much for that. So yeah, I'll just move on to my sort of next question. So you've got little images for each of the poems.
Yeah.
What do they represent?
So each of the icons are the cover of the book. So we thought, because of the default of Google was not that interesting, so we thought, why we don't actually put the cover of the book as the dots. So each of different dots that you see, which is different colors, they are actually the cover of the books.
So if it was published in, say, Write On, then it would be the cover of that.
Of the write-on, yeah.
Of that write-on that, you know, you've put in the little dot. Okay,
Yes.
great. And you pointed out some great poems there. There was another one by Kevin O'Toole. I wasn't thinking so much of lockdown. I mean, I think it is relevant for lockdown, but also it's made me think about prisons as well, and the people who are currently incarcerated and just enduring terrible conditions during, you know, and then we've got the pandemic on top of that as well.
Yes.
And then the other one that you mentioned, there was Pat Winslow. She had a residency, a writing residency at the North Manchester Hospital. So those poems were they were written as part of her residency, which I think is great, because you can be quite isolated in hospital. It can be quite an isolating experience.
Yeah, her work is really powerful. And also what I wanted to mention, I just want to kind of, I'm aware of time, there are like pieces of women's right and been writing by women, and I think also I just really suggest people, as what also you said, to go and look at the writing by women, and how basically those pieces are so, some of them have been written in 1980, for example. We've got the piece called Exile. I'm just going to quickly open that up. Exile has been written in 1988 about equality and the women's right. And I think, like, you know, just when we've had the march, like, last year, like, if you read this poem, it's been like, you know, just it's a poem for every year. And it's just how important to kind of make sure that these pieces are accessible also for a younger generation to read them.
The struggle just goes on, doesn't it? It never ends. And I guess it's nice to have a record of it, to see what has changed and what we have to keep fighting for.
Exactly.
Because the rights that we win, they're so easily lost. So we do have to keep on with that fight.
And that's the power of literature, Hina, isn't it? That's the power of literature that allow us to understand different situations. When we talk about the Black Lives Matter, and when we read about the poetry by Black people since 1970s, and then we talk about women's rights, and then, you know, just all these things, the power of literature make us understand more. And I think that's also a big potential part of the Archive project.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. All right, well, thank you so much for that, and for showing us. And again, please go to the website and explore the literature of Manchester using the map, and just have a look. We'd really love to know what you think of what we've done. And, you know, if you are in the archive and you'd like to get in touch with us, we would love to hear from you. I've spent many an hour trying to get in touch with people, and often it's been a wild goose chase, and I've spent hours just trying to find somebody, and it hasn't really got anywhere. So, like, if I haven't been in touch with you, or, you know, and you have been published by us, I don't care if you never wrote again. I'd really like to hear from you. That would be great.
And also that you mentioned, remind me to say that also, the writers that we put their poems on the map, they are more than welcome to contact us for their pieces that has been put. They are from the Commonword publication. They are from the same book that are on the archive website, but they are more than welcome to contact us for any question, anything that they would like to talk to us.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Okay. We're gonna have we're gonna kind of move to the final section of this evening, and we're gonna have some readings from the Commonword Archive by some of our Manchester writers. The readings have all been by people who are part of Commonword in some way. We've either published them or we've supported them on their journeys as writers. I'm just Martin, before I introduce this, there's a few readings, so I'd just like to say a little bit before each reading. So yeah, once the first reading is finished, could you just stop it and then I'll say something about the next piece. Okay. The first piece that we're going to hear in this final section is by Michaela Sonola. Michaela's a writer who's currently part of our Identity Writers group, but we actually first published her in the early 1990s, and this is Michaela doing a reading from a short story she wrote, and it's called Silence in the Courtyard. So yeah, Martin, could you please play that for us?
This is my story from Dancing on Diamonds, my first ever publication in an anthology for young writers by Crocus Books. And it's called Silence in the Courtyard. Silent in the courtyard, silent in the street. The biggest twit in London is just about to speak. I held my breath. I wanted to tell them that I had to go home, that I desperately needed a loo, that if I was late again, my mum would kill me. But I didn't say anything because just this once, I didn't want to be the biggest twit in London, even if we did live in Franklin. I was 11. They all called me Big Jen. I remember Kathy. Everyone thought that she was mega cool. She was 12 and a half and her mum let her smoke and swear. That night, sitting next to her was Anne as usual. She was the same age as me and she followed Kathy around like a bad smell. Everyone said so and they all made fun of her, but not as often as they did of me. I was the only black girl at school. I started to wonder if the game had started. I tried to get Anne's attention, but she was too busy looking at Kathy, and the silence was buzzing in my ears. Have we started yet? I regretted this immediately, but I couldn't help myself. They all laughed. Trust Jennifer, typical of big fat Jen to spoil everything. Kathy scowled at me. God, Jen, can't you get anything fucking right? The word fucking hung in the air, while the others wished that they could sound as cool as when they swore. She lit up a B&H and took a long, exaggerated drag, blowing it out quickly before inhaling it. We all looked at her in admiration. Anne looked eagerly at Kathy and then at her cigarette. Can I have a puff? Everyone stared at Anne in anticipation, and when she did not cough or throw up, there was a chorus of, can I have some? And let me try. They all passed the cigarette around the room, each taking their first drag. Paul was the last one, and he was next to me. Do you want some? I smiled. All day I had been waiting for this opportunity to arise. No, thank you, I said. I've got me own. I pulled out a packet of Marlborough. They all looked at me in amazement. For years they'd seen me only as big fat Jen, who always wore funny clothes and never did anything cool. And that day I had a whole packet of cigarettes. The last 2 years of middle school I dieted. I was going to be like the women in the magazines and on the television. And I finally lost my puppy fat, and glasses became trendy. I thought that when I lost weight, everything would be different. Like the transformation of the ugly duckling or Cinderella. I would become beautiful and everybody would notice this and love me. But no matter what I did, how much I conformed, I was always that bit different.
What a great poem.
A great piece. Thank you to Michaela for reading and writing that. And then I would like to introduce a short piece This is by Georgina Blake. What can I tell you about her? She's originally from the West Midlands, but she lived and taught in Manchester for a while. And Commonword published her debut collection of poetry in 1992. And I think this was the first collection of poetry by a Black woman writer that we published. We have previously, I think a few years before that, we had an anthology of work by Black and women writers, but this is the first solo collection. So this is Farid Norrat reading a poem by Georgina Blake. I think he says the title, so I'll leave that for him to introduce. So yeah, Martin, when you're ready, yeah, take it away.
WOG by Georgina Blake. I had an ivory tower once, and in it I lived, with my knee-high socks, skipping rope, and street game past. I had an ivory tower once. Then someone sprayed WOG across the front. I was forced to stay inside, sheltered by the anger in my skin. I had an ivory tower once, but I pretended not to be in. My knee-high socks I threw away. My skipping rope, it frayed. My street game past became a relic. I had an ivory tower once.
Okay, thank you very much, Farid, for reading that piece. And I'm going to introduce our next piece. This is an excerpt from a short story called Old Partner, and it's by a writer called Tai Lai Kwan. Now, this story was published in a book by Commonword, and that book was called Dim Sum. And it was a collection of stories by British Chinese writers. And it came out in 1997, which of course was the year that Hong Kong became independent from Britain. So yes, this is read by Mimi Webster. So yes, Martin, when you're ready, please could you cue that up? Old Partner.
Come on, old partner. What did our way say? The baby must be due soon. Auntie Ming pressed her husband eagerly, hardly waiting for him to finish the letter. Yes, the baby's due in a month's time, and... Uncle Ming glanced at his wife, then stared at the letter again. What is it? They're not expecting difficulties, are they? Auntie Ming became anxious. No, not the sort you imagine. Away wants you to go and help look after the baby for the first few weeks. That's wonderful. We've always wanted to visit them, and they've always said they were too busy. Now is our chance. You don't understand, old partner. Away only meant for you to go. He said he couldn't afford 2 tickets, what with the baby's expense and all. Oh. Auntie Ming felt really disappointed. She looked at her husband's sunken and worry-lined face and sensed the deep hurt in him. Uncle Ming was a primary school teacher, and she had to work part-time as a cleaner to augment his meager income. Their hope was pinned on Away, their only son. They skimped and saved to send him overseas for a better education, living for the day when he would return the conquering hero, taking care of them in their old age. But Away had plans of his own. He had stayed on in the UK, married an English wife, and had only returned fleetingly to show off his new bride. Never once did he offer to have the old folks with him. They had accepted this quietly, not even discussing much about it between themselves, for fear of causing greater heartache to each other. But they were hurt and bewildered by Away's behavior. Maybe it was their own fault for sending him to the West. They were warned that the young in those countries do not respect, let alone take care of the aged. Still, they thought their Away would be different. That day, they had various conversations on Away's letter. Auntie Ming felt apprehensive about going to England alone. They had been married for more than 40 years and had never been apart for more than a day. To be thousands of miles away and leave old partner on his own? Why, she couldn't do that. What could Away be thinking of? You will just have to tell that son of ours I can't leave you alone here without anyone to look after you. Now, don't be hasty, old partner. Let's mull over this a little, Uncle Ming said in that gentle, patient manner of his. 3 weeks later, she was in Manchester, 8,000 miles away from home. Uncle Ming had finally convinced her he was quite capable of taking care of himself for a couple of weeks. Away's house was in a very leafy part of town. She later found out it was one of the richest areas in Manchester. It stood in its own ground with a huge garden, and the number of rooms. There were 5 bedrooms, and 2 of them even came with bathrooms and toilets. Back home, 5 families with children would have lived comfortably within its walls. Away and his wife Angela owned a car each. Auntie Ming looked at all the luxuries around her and couldn't help wondering, how could it be that Away couldn't afford another ticket for his father?
That's also a very nice piece, Hina. I've just been thinking how you can connect with it. I love her works. It's just, especially because I've got a child, just if you've got a family, we've got a child, you really connect with this poem.
I think what I really like about that story is it's the kind of it's the horror of what immigration can do to your child.
Exactly. Just especially
you will move thousands of miles and leave all your friends and your life behind for a better life for your children. And then this is what happens.
Exactly.
So
you would feel it if you kind of come from another country, like just of kind of being an immigrant and then have that situation, just how you just, and that's why I felt like it's really sort of, you can connect it even from different background, just it doesn't matter which country you're from, just you get a connection with this piece.
Absolutely. So let me see, have we had any comments? How are we doing with subtitles? Are we okay? we've had a bit of, well, for the pieces.
Yeah, now we've got everything covered. So it
We've
will
got
be,
everything covered.
yeah. So the next,
Okay.
also the next pieces, I just want to let people
Right.
know that you will read the next pieces in the comments. So if you would like to read the text and follow the video, it will be in the comments.
Okay. Okay, let me introduce, let's see how much time we've got. I think we've got time for like maybe 2 more. Martin, I think we're going to skip one, and I'd like to go to the one that's a reading by Mandla Ray, if that's all right. Let me introduce that. We've got a piece by Kabila Moncho, who I mentioned earlier. And I think she might be the only Black lesbian from the 80s and 90s in the Commonword Archive who was actually out at the time. Kabila is sadly no longer with us, but I've been told that she performed her work all around the Northwest. So we've got some strong language here, but completely called for, I would say. So this is Mandla Ray, who's a local writer, reading a piece by Kabila Moncho. So Martin, when you're ready, could you cue that up, please?
Life on the Other Side by Kabila Moncho. Be stripped of all garments, your dignity, respect. Be prostituted and killed. Have your body violated, battered and bruised, and know that what I feel is not anger, but rage. Know what pain is, being called Blackie, Sambo, black bastard, nigger, and realize that your children will suffer the same abuse. Be powerless to fight back. Be threatened with the law, which will kill you no matter what. And know that what I feel is not anger, but rage. Be told of your disposition for being temperamental, your inability to concentrate, a distinct lack of interest, and incessant hostility in a whitewashed, black oppressed world. And know that my rage is real, not imagined, and will kill you with one blow. Dare to stand before me and tell me that I am oversensitive, have a chip on my shoulder, cannot mix well with others, and express no surprise when I coolly and calmly mash up your face, break your neck, and shoot you dead.
Again,
Okay.
what a powerful poem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. So let me, what was I going to say? That was published around 1990 or 1991. Identity, our group for Black and Asian writers, which is still going on. Very early on, they decided they would put out a magazine of writing. It only lasted 2 issues, but we've got electronic copies of those 2 issues on the website if you want to have a look at those.
There are loads of things for people to kind of, I really recommend that, just go and explore the website and, just the map. It's just loads of things to kind of discover and enjoy reading, honestly. Like, they're amazing to read.
I wish that I could have added more, and I will be adding more. So yeah, you can keep checking back and having a look to see.
Yeah, to be honest, it's just a start, because we're just launching, and we need people to go and actually read and access, just these amazing pieces and collections. And this is just the beginning now.
Yeah. Okay. And should we have one more piece? My Dad Too. So Martin, could you get that one ready, and I'll just introduce it very quickly. This is our final piece. We've got Farid reading it again. This was published in an anthology by Commonword called Rainbows in the Ice in about 92, 93. And it's a collection of work by disabled writers. And it was published at a time when the disability rights movement was really gaining traction in the UK. And again, it's time for that stuff to happen again, because disabled people are being treated appallingly, especially in this crisis. So in this anthology, like, some people did write about their disabilities, but you shouldn't have to just write about your disabilities just because you're disabled. So yeah, this is a piece called My Dad Too, and it's by Caroline Ball. And this is the last reading that we're going to have this evening.
My Dad Too by Caroline Ball. I trust my dad with everything, except my hairstyle or my washing. Difficult for a man alone. He'd mixed the whites with all the colours. A snowy blouse turned muddled pink. He cooked his sausages to perfect charcoal. Saturday's smoke a signal of his need. Across the road, Marie, cakes rising miraculous from her oven. I knew her first. Pretty, with highlights in her hair. Music blaring Engelbert. When he asked if he could marry her, I said yes. Happy, yet with feelings mixed, like colours in the washer.
So yeah, nice little poem to end on there.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd like to draw this meeting to a close. So first of all, my thanks to you, Mahbube. Thank you for being here and telling us about the work that you've done.
Thank you so much for having me. I just really enjoyed, and it's been a very important time also for us to launch this project and these pieces and this exciting collection worth of over 40 years of Commonword to share with you guys.
Okay, and a few more thank yous. I'm hoping this won't be longer than the thank yous on the sleeve notes to a Destiny's Child album, but yeah, thank you to Mahbube, of course, to Marion, who is captioning tonight, Martin for producing and doing all the background stuff. Thank you if you've been watching, and if you recorded readings for us tonight. So Mandla, Farid, Dominic, Kevin, Michaela, Mimi. I'd like to thank all the Commonword staff and writers, and thank you to all the volunteers who've worked on the project. And And a thank you to all Common Word writers, past and present. And yes, a thanks again to you, the audience, for watching. We will be back for more readings, so look out, keep an eye out on our Facebook page and on our social media. Can I quickly tell you about an event that we've got on Friday? We're going to be showcasing new work by trans and non-binary writers. That will be on our Common Word page, so don't miss that. It's on Friday, 6:30 p.m. And it's our trans rights showcase. This writing came from using the Common Word archive material as a jumping off point. So very much looking forward to seeing you at that, and very much looking forward to hearing the writers and their new work. So yeah, that's all from me and from Habube. Thank you again for watching. And
Thank you.
yeah, good night.
Thank you so much, and have a lovely evening, guys.
We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.